What up, fellas? What up, Title Tribe? This is your Frito Bandito, aka Rich. This is episode number 5 of Toilets Titles After Dark. Today I'm joined with my man Abe down below. Abe, how you doing today?
Good, Rich. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How was your week, man?
Pretty good. Did okay on betting. Didn't lose. So that's a good thing. Got my big fantasy league. Got my first W. So I've been fighting and scrapping with injuries so far. So things are a little bit better this week after a W and not a loss in betting. So not too bad.
It's always good. It's always good when we win some money and everything. So this week our man Nate got called into work. So we called in. Everybody always calls him the big boss. I call him just an average guy with Justin. How you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. This is going to be interesting. I've not done an After Dark before, so like you guys there in the middle time zone, this is kind of wind down time for you guys. This is like the middle of the night for an old man like me on the East Coast.
Hey, I was told to reach out to you because I was told you're like a vampire. You're up all night, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a vampire in the Frankenstein, baby. I've been killing it this year.
Hey, you and me both, boy. We're heading for that collision. Just understand that.
Dude, I've got a rough road ahead of me. I've got 2 teams. Well, one of them was undefeated until this last week. I face him this week, and then Von Murderers is also undefeated. I face him next week. So it's gonna be a lot. If I can get through both of these and start stacking my team up, then who knows? Maybe I can use these commissioner rights to get rid of a couple of your players, and I'll have a shot.
All right, man. Before we get into our regular show and do a little housekeeping, I do want to jump in the chat, and we have El Fuego. He's one of our newest Patreon members, correct?
Yep, sure is. I appreciate you,
El Fuego. Nice having you on, man. Then we also got in the chat Duarte, saying awesome show. So hey, guys, really appreciate you guys being on. So
yeah, Duarte is more old school. Appreciate you too, buddy.
Gotcha. So let's get into our housekeeping and everything. So you can find us. You can find all of our content, including articles, mock drafts, player rankings, and episodes at toiletstitles.com. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And lastly, if you'd like to interact with the team, discuss NFL, fantasy football, or college football, or if you like just to get in our weekly conversations that we have, reach out to Coach Sheps at Coach Sheps. You can reach out to Justin, reach out to me, so you get into our Gilded Chat. Gilded Chat is it's kicking strong, very strong, right, Justin?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much nonstop. So I was at the hospital day for my wife. She's having an MRI, and the whole, it was like I was there for like 45 minutes. It flew by just keeping up on the chat. So it's rocking.
Man, it's one of the things when I'm at work. It's when I'm at work, I have to kind of turn it off and stuff like that, because man, it's so hopping. It's like constant notifications and everything. So then when I take my little breaks as I can, I don't want work to know about that, but I try to catch up as quick as I can, and then try to catch up at the end of the night and in the evenings and everything.
Yeah, I mean, one of those things about that chat is there's always a ton of people on there. So if you got a quick question, jump on there and fire away, because you're going to have a lot of guys that are that have been studying, looking at this stuff, and you're going to get a couple different opinions, and then you can make your final decision through that. But it's awesome. I mean, it is full blast all day long.
Nice. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump in. Before we go into our regular content, let's discuss a little NFL news. Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp are supposed to be coming off IR this week. Do you think they come back and play this week? Abe, let's start with you.
Oh, gosh. I mean, so we talked about Taylor a little bit last week, and my number one thing I said was, I just don't know. I don't have a feeling on the guy. I don't know. I did say, the Colts are playing pretty good. That might be a sign that he might be coming back. Signs today said he was there. He was happy. He looked really good. I don't know if they bring him back, this week, against Tennessee, but then again, you have a division game. You have a division game next week. So what do you do? I don't quite know. I do know that I traded a some big pieces away to get him today because I'm really struggling at running back. Had to take a huge leap of faith and put a lot of trust in it. It's at this point in time where I'm like, hey, I got to do something, or otherwise I'm going to keep on sinking. So I don't know if he comes back this week. I mean, he might come in for a couple series. I don't know about him. Cooper Kupp, I don't know if he gets on the field quite yet. He looked pretty good. I saw him running some routes. He looked pretty quick. Usually when you can see someone doing that, but I saw him come back earlier this year and then retweak it. It looked like he was a little bit slower and a little bit more methodical. Today on his breaks that I was watching in and out, he looked pretty quick. So, I mean, there's a good chance that both of them play to this week.
Justin, real quick before we let you hit on that, I can't let Abe drop a hook without me taking a little bite on it. So, dude, discuss this trade. What'd you give up?
Oh God, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. So we play tight ends count as wide receivers, and I'm 1-3 in this league. And I gave up Kelsey for Jonathan Taylor and Jameson Williams. So I'm loaded at wide receiver, and I have my running backs were Javonte Williams, who he's obviously struggled. I have Zach Moss, and then I have David Montgomery. So I've been really hurting at running back. So I got some C squad running backs, and I got some pretty loaded wide receivers. So I gave up Kelsey for him. So I'm no longer a Swiftie. I gave up all the followers and all that to go after Johnny Taylor.
All right, Justin. So as you can see here in the bottom, Mr. El Fuego gave us a little update and everything. So fill us in, sir.
Yeah, no, he did practice today. He did practice in full, and he practiced with no real limitations. So here's the thing. Like, he absolutely firmly stood his ground and said, I will not play for Jim Irsay again without a contract. And that was 6 weeks ago, right? Jim Irsay said, I absolutely will not give him a contract before his last final year of his rookie deal is up, and then allowed him to go seek trade, but then made the cost so astronomical that there was no way anybody was going to give that kind of a booty for JT and then turn around and pay him a huge contract. So we're still at a standpoint, or like a standoff here, right? Like, here's the thing, though. Here's like a happy little compromise, a happy little medium. If you're a Colts fan and you're looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, is the fact that he is back, he is practicing, and Irsay did say that he wasn't going to extend his contract before his rookie deal was up. So unless there's been more talks and maybe they've come to this understanding, hey, we are going to try to work out a deal for you when the end of your contract's up. We're going to make you a long-term Colt. Or if there's talks in the background of we're still planning on trying to trade you, I don't know. Unless there was some kind of a compromise, it also could have just been JT trying to force his hand too, like a la Le'Veon Bell, but only in this case, he kind of has to come back. Like, it's his last year of his rookie deal. So with Le'Veon, it was a little different. It wasn't his rookie deal. It was the last deal of a veteran deal. Like, he had already gotten one big payday. For JT, if he wants that payday, he's got to come back and play, because if not, then the last deal of his rookie contract will be next year for the Colts, and he's in the exact same situation. So I do see him coming back, but on the fantasy standpoint of this, he's not going to risk huge injury unless he knows he's getting paid. So if he has a hangnail in week 6 and sits out for 3 weeks because of his little boo-boo, make sure you're hanging on to your Zach Moss just in case. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I agree 100% with everything you said. It's one of those things where, like I said, I didn't have a good grasp on it last week. The conversations with Steichen and some people from the Colts organization was very positive the last couple of days, and that's not something we've heard from either of these sides in the last year. So that's why I took a leap of faith and some chances. If I didn't have Zach Moss, I'm telling you that I would not have made that deal, but I just needed to solidify a running back,
right.
A backfield, I guess. So I have hope that he comes back. I think it does help that the Colts are playing good. I think if they're 0 for right now, I don't know if he shows up today. I mean, that's some things also, and that's a great point about the rookie contract, because he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't. I don't think he does it if he's in a different contract. So He's got to show out to get paid. He knows that. He wants that. He's done it before. So who knows? We'll just have to sit back and wait and see.
And I want to touch on this real quick too. This comment that Rich blurbed up there real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, it is 21 days, but I feel like with JT's situation a little bit different than Cooper Kupp's. Like JT really isn't that limited. To be honest with you, he wasn't even hurt to get put on this 4 weeks to begin with. This was all just time for the two sides to come up with their plans on how to attack the season. He's not hurt, so I feel strongly like if he's here and he's practicing, he's going to play. I feel really strong that JT plays this week. But Cooper Kupp, on the other hand, a 30-year-old guy that's had a lot of injury or a lot of issues with this injury, trying to heal up properly, I'm not as confident. Now, he might take more time than just this week or whatever to heal up. I'm not so sure that we see Cooper Kupp this week. I'm not so sure we see him next week, to be honest with you. So still continue to start Puka.
Yeah, no, 100%. You kind of led into what I was going to go at. Look, I'm not going to go too much into the Taylor. Look, you guys hit it pretty well and everything, but I do want to touch on the Cooper Kupp and the Puka situation. So I feel like Kupp is going to be kind of eased into the situation and everything. He might be on a snap count and everything, but when it's full go with Cooper Kupp, are you worried about Puka Nacua at all?
I'm not aggressively worried. No, I feel like, and I kind of did the math earlier because in my main home league, I'm trying to work out a trade to get Puka because so many people are concerned. So right now, I believe it was like 13 targets per game is what Puka's getting. And Tutu Atwell's getting 9 targets per game, right? So if Kupp comes in, let's say Kupp somehow takes 13 targets. I don't see Tutu getting a whole lot of targets over Puka. So let's say Puka gets 7 targets. Well, he had 7 targets against Cincinnati without a touchdown and still scored 12.5 points. So he's still a perfectly fine wide receiver 2 in my book, no matter what. Obviously, he's not going to be the rock star number 1 that he is if Kupp comes back and he's actually Kupp. But also, we don't know if maybe they're not ready to make that transition. We don't know what Kupp has left. We haven't seen it yet. So 30 years old, coming off of a hamstring injury. He was phenomenal last year before he got hurt, but he got hurt. Like he's just at that age. Maybe it's time for the young guy to take control.
Yeah, nice. I agree. And one thing about Kupp also, I mean, we saw this offense, a couple of years ago with when they had Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp had his all-star season. I mean, there's enough to go around for both these guys. And people say, well, Puka's playing, in Kupp's spot where he's playing kind of that position. But Puka's one guy that you can move him inside, outside. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's that good of a wide receiver. He's not going to get 13, 15 targets a week. But I definitely see him still getting 8 to 10. I mean, this team is a team that slings it around. Stafford's look good. Their defense is pretty good, but they're going to have to score points. And the way to do that is having both these guys on the field at the same time. That only makes them better by having both these guys out there. So I don't see Puka falling off that far. I mean, he's not going to get 15 targets. He's not going to be setting records like that for when Cooper Kupp's on the field, but he's nothing to snooze on. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Tutu Atwell has gotten what he's gotten right now because Puka is going up against the number 1 defender and the over safety that's playing over top of him. So Tutu gets one-on-one attention, and Tutu has been able to do really well. So imagine when Kupp slides into that number 1 spot, and Puka is the guy that no longer has to deal with the double team or no longer has to deal with the number 1 guy. I mean, like there's a really good chance that he could maybe get fewer targets, but his targets he does get are even more efficient. And he still has wide receiver 1 weeks.
Right. And Tutu is going to be still pretty good also. I mean, obviously when you bring in the Cooper Kupp, everything on the pecking order is going to drop a little bit, but they're going to find a way to get Tutu the ball because he is absolutely explosive in the open field. So, do I see both Tutu and Puka having their stuff drop a little bit? I do, but not by a ton. I mean, this offense can do it. It can feast around that. And you have a coach that wants to get the ball in people's hands, the playmakers' hands, and he knows how to do it. And you got Stafford that can sling it all over the field. Why not? So I think this is a good thing for all of them.
So what this is leading into is it's almost kind of setting up. So when Kupp is healthy, this is going to be kind of like a Tyreek Hill kind of Waddle situation where you have these 2 receivers where, look, with Tyreek and Waddle, look, you guys are getting all these yards where Cup and Puka is going to be all these targets and receptions. I mean, they're just going to be slaying it. And the fantasy aspect of it for everybody. And I can't not mention the pop and chat that we got going on right now with everybody in the chat and stuff like that. So I appreciate everybody here. But all this does is help Stafford. It helps Kyron Williams. I love the fact that this is going to open up so much for Kyron Williams and everything.
Yeah, he's look good.
He's going to
look good.
So, all right, guys, let's hop into the meat and potatoes of the show. We are going to start out with our fantasy favorites of the week. Abe, I'm going to go ahead and let you lead off, and then Justin, I'll let you follow right after, okay? And we'll break this down by position. So let's go QBs first.
All right, so my couple that I have out there, I have Tua against the Giants. I mean, I can go out there and play quarterback and do well against the Giants right now. And we've seen when Tua has kind of a down week, and a down week for him is still maybe 280, but when he only throws one touchdown, he comes back and puts up 3 or 4 the next week. So we saw him last week only put up a touchdown. I like him a lot against the Giants. I think they get back to just sprints up and down the field, and they do a lot against this Giants defense. So I like Tua a lot. My second quarterback I like Anthony Richardson. I know that Tennessee defense is pretty stout against the run, but Anthony Richardson is one of those guys. Man, does he look good! So I really like Richardson against Tennessee. We're going into a division game. Tennessee obviously has not seen much of him, but he's fun. He's explosive to watch. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Richardson against Tennessee.
All right, Justin, who you got?
All right. So I just found out like 20 minutes before the show that I was going to be doing the show. So I threw all these down last second, but I tried my best to make sure I didn't choose any that you guys chose. And you guys kind of threw up some layups for me for quarterback by not taking these two guys. But obviously, Pat Mahomes is a must start every week, and he's going against Minnesota. I get the fear factor of him being up big and then maybe not slinging the rock so much in the second half. But I think that first half could be big enough that it doesn't matter. 24th against quarterbacks, which means Minnesota's already given up a lot of points to fantasy quarterbacks. And Minnesota does still find a way to keep it somewhat close for 3 quarters.
Yes, they do.
And then Josh Allen against Jacksonville playing in England at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. Jacksonville is 21st against quarterbacks, and they do find a way to get to the quarterback. But this is a quarterback that can get away from that defensive line. So he can roll out and he can run when he has to. So he's still going to get your fantasy points. So you guys gave me the 2 easy layups on this one. A little bit later on, not so easy.
Gotcha. So my QBs of the week is, hey, look, I'm rolling with what's going good with these quarterbacks. And CJ Stroud, as a rookie, has stepped in and really shown maybe he was the best QB that everybody should have been looking for and everything. He's playing, going up against Atlanta Falcons and everything. I like his opportunity. Look, the Houston Texans defense is sneakily starting to improve against everybody. And Stroud, when you have a good defense, is going to have the opportunity to be on the field a lot. He has some awesome receivers that has really been stepping up for him. Maybe not so much from the run game, but that's going to open up eventually and stuff like that. Look, he's passing for over 300 yards, multiple games and everything. So I love CJ Stroud against the Falcons. And then Sam Howell against the Bears. How can you not want a QB against the Bears and everything? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like yeah, you know what? Dunk that one in the bucket. So those are my 2 QB favorites for this week. Next, we are going to jump into the running backs. I'm going to start this one out because I love Isaiah Pacheco against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Minnesota Vikings defense ain't that bad. Their rush defense ain't that bad, but who else does Chiefs have besides Pacheco and Kelsey and everything? I mean, Pacheco slowly, he's even getting those receptions out of the backfield and everything, and looked freaking beautiful last week against the Bears and everything. So I do like him against the Vikings, getting a little bit more action within the receiving game and everything. And then also, I hate to be pounding the Bears over and over again, but how can you not pick Brian Robinson against the Bears too? I mean, the Washington is going to have a field day with the Bears this weekend. I love Brian Robinson. Look, his yards per carry, I think is above 5, like 5.4 or something like that. Last time I checked, but I look for him to have a strong week against the Bears. Justin, who do you got at running backs?
So the first one I have is Bijan Robinson. So Bijan, as the season has gone, it seems like he's getting more and more involved with that offense. He has 2 100 yard games already in 4 games as a rookie. Only 1 touchdown. So if you consider that, the fact that in PPR leagues, Bijan is the number 6 overall running back in fantasy, and he only has 1 total touchdown so far on the season. That means he has an extremely high floor, and he's facing the 26th ranked run defense against, fantasy defense against running backs in Houston this week. So it's kind of a no-brainer pick for me. And then I was kind of wondering why you didn't throw him on there. I think maybe it's because you just don't want to take him every week, Rich. But I went with your boy Josh Jacobs against Green Bay Monday night. I know I know Abe doesn't want to hear it, but I feel like Josh Jacobs is going to have a big Monday night football game. It seems like when the spotlight's on him, he shines, and they are the 4th worst team in the league against fantasy running backs. The Packers are. So we need to find a way to get entertained on Monday night, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy that does it.
So
yeah, I definitely know how the Packers give up a lot to the running game. So I like that a lot also. And I think it was week 5 last year where Josh Jacobs popped off and went crazy from that point on. So I definitely see that happening again this week.
And I think that was also a primetime game that week 5.
Yeah, I think it was too. For some reason, he just looks bigger out there. I don't know. I just see him stomp on Green Bay on Monday night. Green Bay struggles against the run. We all know that. But yeah, I really like those picks as well. So my 2 running backs, I'm going to quote off Rich. I have Brian Robinson against the Bears also. Brian Robinson is one of those guys that, just has been getting it done. He's kind of quiet. I mean, he's not a sexy name in fantasy, but he keeps getting it done. Short weeks, we tend to see running backs do a little bit better. So I like Brian Robinson against the Bears. And my second one is Breece Hall at Denver. We've obviously seen Denver just get torn up by running backs the last couple weeks. I think they finally let loose on Breece Hall. I saw something today that said that he's no longer on a snap count. He's no longer on a pitch count. So I think that Breece Hall has a field day against Denver. I think this Jets team is a little pissed off at some comments that Sean Payton made. Yeah, at the World. And then some comments that Sean Payton made in the offseason. Yeah. So I think that the Jets, they're riding a little bit high because their offense finally looked somewhat decent this past week against the Chiefs. I think they go into Denver and they put up a number. And a number for them is maybe 25 points. Not 40 or 50 or even 70 like the Dolphins. But I think they hang a number on Denver, and I think Breece Hall is a big part of it. I think he has a field day against that Broncos run defense.
Nice. So real quick, I'm gonna hop in this chat real quick. I know he asked a question earlier. He's in a 10 team PPR league and stuff like that, and wanting to drop Kyle Pitts and everything. And who should he be looking for? So Graham, look, in a 10 you can drop him and stuff like that. There's other options. Look, my only concern is if you could move him to the bench and stuff like that, because he's going to have games and stuff like that. And I would love to see how he does once Heineke is put in. I'm hoping Heineke gets put in eventually, and that could really help London and Pitts out and everything. Because, look, as much as I once believed in Ritter, I just don't believe in him no more and everything. So I think when Heineke gets the opportunity to step in, I think that's when you're going to start seeing these receiving monsters kind of come alive and everything. So, but as far as for right now and stuff like that, look, take a shot if available. I know Ferguson is a good pickup from Dallas. If he's a 10-team league, that would be a good option for you and everything. Any other tight ends you guys would think of?
Yeah. So real quick, and I know I jokingly put the comment about my grandmother is available, but so Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry. Here, tell you what, I'm in a 10-team league, and I'm looking at the available tight ends in that league right now. So Cole Kmet and Hunter Henry are both guys that are actually performing so far this season. So is Tyler Higbee. All 3 of them are top 10 tight ends in PPR right now. They're hit or miss. There's some weeks that they just don't show up. but they've all three had weeks where they did show up, unlike Kyle Pitts. And then also, why not Kyle Pitt's supposed backup, who's really the now starter, in my opinion, Jonnu Smith, who's outplayed him the last 2 weeks in a row and is now in a top 12 tight end himself. And he didn't even, I don't know that he even played in week 1 because he didn't draw any stat line in week 1 as the backup. Actually, he probably did play because it's not dash marks, it's zeros. So he was just straight up the backup. Kyle Pitts isn't performing. Jonnu Smith, here's your chance again, buddy.
Abe, any tight ends you would think of?
Yeah, to kind of, I mean, tight ends, if you don't have one of the top 4 or 5, it's kind of a streaming thing anymore this year. It's one of those things where this question's a little bit loaded though, because it depends on how many bench spots you have. I mean, if you have 4 bench spots, yeah, go ahead and drop them. If you have 8, like Rich said, I mean, if he does come back and they finally figure out like, hey, we have an absolute monster at tight end and we have a weapon and Drake London at wide receiver, we're going to start opening things up for Bijan and our running game with Algier and stuff like that. If that does happen, then you don't want him to go to a competitor's team. But at this point in time, I think he's droppable in a 10-team league. And go ahead and stream against some matchups. We have plenty of guys in our stream and other things that we can go ahead and suggest for that. There's guys out there that are definitely serviceable that you're probably not going to get you're probably going to get just as much, if not more, than what Pitts has given you. So it just kind of depends on your bench spots, but I would think if you have a normal bench or even a small bench, he's definitely droppable and go ahead and stream some. I like Ferguson. I've loved Ferguson all year. Ferguson was in my top 12 before the season started. He was like 25 in a lot of leagues, but he's one guy that Dallas just loves throwing a tight end. So I like Ferguson a lot. He's week to week. Dak loves throwing the tight end. Even Laporta's jumped up the ranks like crazy. Green Bay's tight end has been pretty good. It sounds like he's going to play on Monday night. So there's some guys you can definitely pick up. If the waiver wire is pretty deep at tight end and you want to stream those, that's a good idea because there's no reason to have him Pitts on there when he scores you 3 points every week when you can stream one and get 8 to 12.
And also, Graham, I noticed that you mentioned in the comments Higbee there. So if you're going to take Abe's advice, which is great advice, by the way, to stream that position at this point, Higbee is facing Philadelphia this week, and they're the 3rd worst team in the league against tight ends. So it's a really good, sweet matchup. So if any of those other tight ends aren't available, or you look at those tight ends and you don't really like them or whatever, and you want to stream, you've already mentioned Higbee. That sounds like it was meant to be, buddy.
Yep. Yeah, so little insight. I do have Mr. Higbee in my top 10 of tight ends on my rankings this week. So as we jump into the receiving fantasy favorites, I can't not say how Joe loves his Corey Davis. So in that order, we're going to go ahead and jump into our receiver fantasy favorites. Justin, who do you got for your fantasy favorites?
All right, so the first one on paper doesn't really seem like a layup because he's facing San Francisco, but that's CeeDee Lamb. But if you look more in detail, they are 22nd. So they're in the bottom 3rd in the league against wide receivers, and I think a lot of that is because teams typically play from behind and have to throw the ball. I've been doing a lot of shows with Coach the last 4 years, and he's an avid Cowboys fan. And I can tell by the way he acts on Tuesday nights how the Cowboys are going to play on Sunday of that coming week. Because when he's down on his team, he knows something. And he was really down on his team last night on the flagship show. And so I can see the Cowboys being behind and having to throw the football against the San Francisco 49ers. CeeDee Lamb, I look for CeeDee Lamb to have at least 90 yards and a touchdown. And so that's a really good week for a guy going up against San Francisco. Plus, you guys all chose some really good wide receivers that I didn't want to pick because I wanted to choose something different. So I went with CeeDee. But the other guy is DJ Moore. DJ Moore is playing against Washington. We've already kind of talked about how bad that defense is. They play Thursday Night Football also, so it gives you something else to root for. They are 26th in the league against wide receivers, and DJ Moore is DJ Moore. Like, he's always going to find a way to get yards. He'll usually find a way to get in the end zone, and he's always going to be undervalued. So don't undervalue him this week.
Yeah, so my wide receiver fantasy favorites. Look, I'm going 2 receivers, all from the same team. they had kind of got embarrassed last week when they played the Buffalo Bills and everything. So I look for Tyreek and Waddle against the Giants this week to have uh, Tyreek definitely a bounce back, and Waddle coming back from injury. Didn't have that great of a game last week, but I love to have for him to have a great game this week, and I can see both of them going off with two of this week. So those are the two receivers that I'm picking, all from the same team. I hope they go out and for week one, man, I want that repeated.
Right. So I really like that a lot, Rich. Waddle, I'm a Waddle owner, and he, obviously when he has played, I think he's had 4 catches for like an average of, I don't know, 45 or 50 yards. It hasn't been much at all. But the Giants play a lot of man, and that's where Waddle really excels. So I think that Waddle, has a really big bounce back game, and we finally see him break out this week. So I like those picks a lot. My wide receivers are a little bit different. I would love to, the big name guys are, guys we're plugging into our lineup quite a bit. But as you know, if you watch the show, I'm a big matchup guy. So my main matchup that I like the Commanders wide receivers against the Bears secondary. I like, both Dotson and I like McLaurin. They both have really good matchups this week. My favorite matchup of the week is Alan Lazard. Once again, I think that the Jets go out there and try to put up a number. But the main reason behind this is that Damari Mathis, the guy that plays outside the opposite side of Surtain, is just absolutely atrocious. And he's been getting torched all year long. So I like Alan Lazard to have a pretty good game. He lines up on that side of the ball about 2/3 of the time. So I think that he does pretty well. I really like Lazard quite a bit. And then I have, I like Puka. I think that game against the Eagles is going to be a pretty good game. We're going to see some offensive explosions, so I like that. Zay Flowers has a great matchup himself this week. He's going to line up most of the time against Patrick Peterson, which, when you think of Patrick Peterson, you think, oh, well, I don't know if I want to do that. But Patty Peterson's been getting used a little bit in the NFL anymore. He's getting up there in age a little bit, so I like Zay Flowers. He had kind of a down week last week, so I think he does pretty well. And then I like my guy Romeo Doubs. Once again, this is a great matchup for him. He's going up against Jacorian Bennett from the Raiders. Bennett's been giving up a lot, and Romeo Doubs has been obviously Jordan Love's guy. I think they're going to go out there and there's rumors that the Packers are going back after Devontae Adams and all that stuff, which is not going to happen. But I think Romeo Doubs and Watson go out there and say, hey, there's some new young guys here in town. We don't, we'd love to have you, but we can ball out ourselves. So I like Romeo Doubs to have a big game on Monday night, like he's done in 3 of the 4 games.
Yeah, so there was a reason why I didn't choose Josh Jacobs for my running back as fantasy favorites is because of the potential of what they're going to do for Devontae Adams being back at Green Bay. Look, he's going to be the star, the go-to. He's going to be the one that's drawing all the attractions. Look, they're going to force feed him the ball. He's going to have a huge game and everything. So, look, the factor this week is going to be Devontae Adams and everything. So that's the reason why. It's going to help Josh Jacobs, obviously, but man, Adams is going to be sitting pretty nice. So as he returns back to Green Bay, so I'm excited to watch it. I'm glad it's on Monday Night Football. To be honest with you,
and I think they're going to line up Adams quite a bit against Rasul Douglas. We saw Rasul get just eaten alive last week. There was no, Jair didn't play last week, but I think they're going to match up Devontae in easy matchups, which is against Rasul compared to Jair. So I agree. I think Devontae has a big game as well.
All right, tight ends. Let's close this out, and then we'll jump over into our DFS lineups. Look, the tight end landscape is not what we used to expect, and to a certain degree. In the past couple of years, it seems like we could almost have a little bit over maybe 6 or 7 tight ends that you could really kind of rely on a weekly basis, but that's not the case for a lot of tight ends this year and everything. So, look, I went with one game. Look, I'm going Kelsey and Hawkinson in that Minnesota Vikings and Chiefs games. I think those are going to be your number 1, 2 as far as fantasy output this week. So I'm looking for big games out of both of them. Abe?
That's a great pick. I'm going to go Kelsey also just because I simply traded him away this week. So I think he has a monster game. I think he has a monster game as well. And he's due. I mean, he's had, he scored 12 points 2 out of his 3 weeks he's been back. Didn't score a touchdown last week on Sunday Night Football, so I think he has a monster game against this Vikings defense. And then my other guy that I have is Laporta. Watching Laporta get off the line, get open. I mean, the way he moves his body and sheds defenders to get open every week is absolutely impressive. I love watching this kid. He is an absolute beast as a tight end. So I like Laporta pretty much every week. So Laporta and Kelsey are my two that I like a lot this week.
Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I like it. This Travis Kelsey guy that you guys keep speaking of, is that the Taylor Swift boyfriend?
Hey, we mentioned it last week, and I don't want to go back to it. So let's move on.
So I'm getting confused. I don't know. I just heard the guy his jersey sale skyrocketed this week or last week.
I heard something like that too. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with former teammates, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. They both have amazing matchups this week. Zach Ertz is playing against Cincinnati, the very homely Cincinnati Bengals right now. They're 27th against tight ends. 23rd against tight ends are the Rams. And, the Rams made like the Indianapolis Colts tight ends that nobody can ever name and have zero rostered anywhere. One of them, his name is Ogletree, for those of you that have never heard of him. He went off against the Rams this past week. So Dallas Goedert is going to have a huge game.
Man, I like the Ertz pick. I really do like that one. I was actually going over my rankings and stuff like that, and after I got done, I was like, dang, I forgot about Ertz. He should have a solid game this week and everything. So I do like that pick from you. So great choice there. Real quick before we jump into our DF lineups, look, I want to go ahead and talk about our Patreon at toiletstitles.com. Justin, do you want to kind of go over that for me?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So patreon.com/toiletstitles. So we have multiple different tiers. I believe we got like 6 different tiers in there. The first tier, $1.50 tier, will just get you into a separate, its own little channel within the Gilded Chat. The Gilded Chat itself is free. So join the Gilded Chat. I already put my Twitter handle in the comment section. I'll type it in there again. I can send you an invite, but for $1.50, you get into a special little channel that's just for Patreons, where you guys kind of drive the content. The level I think is the biggest deal is $5, because at the $5 level, you also get the waiver wire episode and the waiver wire doc that our man Joe Clark puts out every week. That man hustles every single week for us. And then, of course, the $10 level, you get into Frankenstink for free, which Frankenstink is our listener league, for those of you that don't know. But our monster of a listener league that has 96 people in it, and hopefully going to be closer to 120 next year, maybe more. So, but anyhow, yeah, that's patreon.com/toiletstitles.
Nice. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, Abe, DFS lineup for the week. Give me your DFS lineup.
All right, so I got Stafford. I did this lineup on FanDuel this week. I usually do it on DraftKings, but I pulled all my money from DraftKings and had some on FanDuel. So I went and did a lineup on FanDuel, and I always do it on like Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday at lunch, sometime like that. And this is the lineup I put together from Thursday through Monday. I have Stafford against the Eagles. I think that game, the Eagles secondary is banged up, and I think that Stafford has possibly another weapon coming back. But if not, he's got Pook out there. So and 2-2 or 3-3 or whatever you want to call him, 6-6 if he gets in the end zone. So I like Stafford against the Eagles. I got Brian Robinson against the Bears. Breece Hall at Denver. I like Jamar Chase at Arizona this week. He got interviewed after the game last week, and they said, "Do you get open?" And he said, "I get fucking open every time." So yeah, I think he's ready to go. I don't think he's scored a touchdown yet this year, so I really like for him to have a big game. For the first time, I'm also a Joe Burrow owner, so for the first time, watching this week, it looked like Burrow finally had some zip on his ball a little bit and looked a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Burrow said today that he finally feels pretty good. I've not heard him openly say that at all. So I really like Jamar Chase at Arizona. I have Lazard at Denver, Zay Flowers at Pittsburgh. My tight end is Kelsey at Minnesota, and my flex is Waddle against the Giants, and I have the Texans defense against the Falcons.
Nice. That's a nice lineup. So
It's
uh,
there's a lot of big names, that's for sure. I
but
like that a
yeah,
lot.
maybe I should go hop over to the to that site and see what kind of lineups. I went with DraftKings. Look, I know, but either you could choose either one, which one you want. I did go with DraftKings. I went Sam Howell at QB. He was only 5,200. He's going up against Chicago. They're ranked 28th. So I got to start out with a low dollar amount of QB so I could flex at some of my other positions. Um, Running backs, I got Isaiah Pacheco and Brian Robinson. Both of them another value at 5,700 and 5,600. Brian Robinson is going up against the Chicago that's ranked 30th against the run and everything. So I look to kind of cash in there. Now, I went low on all three of those so I can stack my receivers, kind of what I mentioned earlier. Look, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to back it up and everything. So Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I went at my receivers. Look, I want those duos this week and everything. To get them, I had to go low at other positions and stuff like that. So my third receiver is Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins might not play this week and everything. So if Tyler Boyd could step in and give me his value at that 4,500, that should cash in pretty well for me and everything. Just like what you were saying earlier, Justin, I went Zach Ertz at tight end. And then at my flex, I went Nico Collins. He is going against a good matchup against Atlanta. Look, their pass defense is ranked 7th overall and everything. So I still like the opportunity that he has. He's been on fire. He's like in the top 10 as far as receiving for the beginning of this year and everything. So I want to ride him while he's hot and everything. Now, I might be crazy for doing this, but I'm going Dallas Cowboys defense. Look, it's going to be 49ers against the Cowboys defense and everything. That's going to be a defensive sluggernaut and everything. And I look for Dak and Purdy to make some mistakes in this game and everything, and maybe not look the best and everything. So I'm going to take an opportunity because you do know that between the Cowboys defense and the 49 defense, look, they're fighting for that little bragging rights on who's the better defense in this league this year and everything. So I really look for that to be a really stout defensive performance.
That'll be a fun game.
Justin, did you create one? I don't think you created one, correct?
Okay, so here's the thing. All right. No, I did not create one because I live in what we call a no fun state in the state of Indiana. But I am able to play and gamble on rival.com because I have I'm whitelisted since we're affiliated with them. So at joinrivals.com/title tribe, I was able to set up my bingo cards, and I can go over my bingo card with you if you'd like.
Hey, let's knock that one out, man. Yeah,
sure.
Perfect leeway into what you
He doesn't like playing a little bingo.
All right. So, so actually, you know what I can do? Hold on one second. I know this is absolutely riveting radio here.
Hey, while he's pulling up his bingo card to discuss it and everything, because I'm assuming that's what you're doing.
Yes, sir. I got it right there.
Anybody in the chat and anybody listening to all the Title Tribe members out there and future members, look, this is a awesome platform to go use and everything. Me and Justin, we did a bet last week. I picked Gabe Davis, and you picked. You remember who you picked?
I can find out real quick. It was another wide receiver. I believe I lost.
Yes, you did.
I took Tutu Atwell.
There you go. We set a setting on there where we had to pick up a number 2 receiver from any team and everything. So I looked up there. I like I said, I had a reasoning for me on that one, and it worked well for me. So go ahead and jump into your bingo card there, sir.
All right. So let me get back to the bingo. All right. So here's one of my bingo cards. All 5 of them, I chose the same players because they totally randomize your achievements over here off to the side that you can see. So you can choose whoever you want. There is no salary cap. So that's the cool part. So I've got Pat Mahomes at quarterback. I've got Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson. I've got Tyreek and Justin Jefferson. I've got Travis Kelce, Jake Elliott, and Stephon Diggs. And yeah, I don't always go for just the top-notch, top-tier players. A lot of times I go for the best matchups. But all these guys have pretty solid matchups this week as well. And I did win one of these bingos. I won like $350 or $450, something like that, back in week 2. So I do have a little bit of a system here, but you can find out more about that on the Friendly Fire episode that drops on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Nate and I do a weekly show for that, and so. It's our rival sponsored show, but we call it Friendly Fire. So it's joinrival.com/title tribe. Your first deposit of up to $200 is matched, plus an additional $25 for you to bet with on top of that, just for using that link. So yeah, that's my DFS plays of the day.
Hey, what's the pot up to this week?
Right now we are looking at $404, but last week
then, huh?
Well, somebody hit it, yeah. But last Wednesday, it was also right around 350 to 400, and it still got up over 1,000 by the time kickoff happened on Sunday. So
how does that bingo card? So how does that bingo card work? Do you have to have the top player on there for it to hit, and then
nope? So again, I don't know if you can see my board very well, but here I can zoom in a little bit. So like. This says wide receiver greater than 50 rushing yards. So if one of my wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, or Stephon Diggs, because Stephon was my flex, if one of my wide receivers has more than 50 rushing yards, then that achievement will highlight in this
I see it now. Yeah.
blue color. So fun. if you have all 4 corners, or if you have all 4 in a corner, or if you have a straight line or a diagonal, then you hit bingo and you win a portion of the jackpot. And then like for me, the week I hit, I think there were 3 other people that also won, so we had to split it 4 ways. But still, it was a $350 or $450 payday, so definitely worth my while. So and it's only $1 a piece. You can see right down at the bottom it says buy cards. It's $1 a piece for a card. So last week I bought 10. I usually buy 5, but yeah. So yeah,
that's fun.
It is a lot of fun.
All right, so let's go ahead and close this show out with our favorite lines of the week. Abe, what do you got?
So I like the Rams plus 4.5 at home against the Eagles. I know the Eagles are 4-0. They just don't quite, it's scary. They don't look that great, but they're still 4-0. But I like the Rams at home getting 4.5. That's just kind of a gut play. There's not a lot to it. But I for some reason, I think the Rams give them absolute fits this week. They got, they were in a division battle last week, went into overtimes. Did it go to overtime, or was it against Washington? So, anyways, with Philadelphia and Washington, it was pretty close. So I think when they fly out to the West Coast, I think they're in a dogfight with the Rams. So I like the Rams plus 4.5. I like the Chiefs and the Vikings over 53. I think we see a lot of points in that game. Vikings can't really stop too many people. I think the Chiefs put up a lot of points, and the Vikings, they can light up a scoreboard as well. So I like that. And then I like the Jets team total points over 20.5. I mentioned earlier that I think they try to put up a number this week. Like I said, it's the Jets offense is not explosive with Zach Wilson quarterbacking, but I think they do whatever they can to make their offensive coordinator not look absolutely terrible like Sean Payton said he is. And so I really like over 20.5 points against that terrible Denver defense. And then I think Pollard finally scores. I haven't seen him score, him and Chase. Pollard scored, I think, 1 week, but I think we see Pollard to get in the box and Chase to score as well. So those are a couple bets I like. These guys, when they are on the field as much as they are, they're eventually going to get in the box and score. So that's why I chose Pollard, and I like Chase to score as well.
Yeah, so my favorite lines of the week is that, look, I'm taking Miami Dolphins minus 11. I'm rolling with my Houston Texans at +2. And then I'm taking Kansas City Chiefs 4.5. Look, the biggest one on here is that Miami Dolphins minus 11 against the Giants. Man, the Giants, after the performance they did last week, Seattle tore them up and everything. So I like Miami to really, that defense is going to unload on them, and they might have a 9-sack game just like Seattle did this past week and everything. So I really feel for Daniel Jones right now. So, Justin, you got any favorite lines of the week, sir?
Yes, I do, actually. It's So again, no fun state. So since this is October and we are all about horror films, my favorite line of the week comes from the movie Halloween, and it's you're talking about him as if he were a human being. That part of him died years ago. That's my favorite line.
Beautiful, beautiful. I was waiting for something else, but then I finally realized what you were doing. So very well, very well.
Those no fun states, man.
Yep.
I don't know how you do it. You saved a heck of a lot of money. That's what I'll promise you that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Probably
Probably saved my marriage too.
All right, gents. I appreciate Justin you showing up tonight and helping us out a little bit and everything.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Anything you want to close out with?
Nah, I'm good. I'm ready for bed, guys. Let's
Same here.
East Coast time. We're funneling on midnight for you.
Yeah, man.
Abe, what you got?
Hey, just looking forward to our Monday night matchup. You know, Packers versus Raiders. I don't know if you can see it. I got my Devontae Adams jersey on tonight. So,
there you go.
Rich, if Nate can join us next week, we'll have some banter next week between our Packers Raiders game. So I'm looking forward to that. But
I believe that. Raiders are coming out with the win, man. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I will say I appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Yeah, our chat has been awesome on Wednesday nights. We appreciate it.
Yes, once again, I do want to comment on the chat. Look, they came strong tonight and everything, and I appreciate all you guys and everything. So, with that being said, hey, this is another episode of Toilets to Titles, late night, after dark. A little drinking, a little cussing. We got a little cuss words in there, but once again, guys, appreciate everybody showing up, and y'all have a great night.